All right, everyone, welcome. We're going to go over JMP guide number 3, how to manipulate data. I'm going to show you a few tricks that's going to be helpful to you later. Before I move on, though, I would need to go back and talk about ordinal data with Likert scales. So a lot of you will use surveys with Likert scales like 1, strongly disagree, 2, disagree, 3, neutral. Well, there's no real equal interval between each of those. Like, to someone, based on their opinion, there might be a huge difference between strongly agree and agree, but not so much of a difference between agree and neutral. So that really officially is ordinal data. However, the statistics that we use with ordinal data is often not quite as strong or robust, and so we still need to use what's called parametric statistics, and so that needs to be coded still as continuous data. So listen right now. If you are using survey data, Likert scale, just know officially it's ordinal data. But in this JMP, it's probably best to code it as continuous data so that you can still use parametric procedures. And that's typically done with Likert scale data. So that's a note I can't forget to tell you. All right, so I want to show you a few neat things on here. In just a little bit, you will learn about using this analyze button quite often. And so just anytime we analyze anything, there's this screen is going to kind of come up where it's going to show you data. Well, there's this invisible line that you would not know about unless you watch this video. Look at this. You click on it and it's like this other toolbar comes up where you can do other things with this information. So this little bar here, you can click on it and there's other tools available right there. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Now let's talk about what if you want to rearrange the order of these columns. Is there an easy way to do that? Like if I want to put age next to age groups, all right, well, instead of trying to figure out how to copy and paste these columns and enter new columns and all of that, look, it's so easy. I click on age and I'm just gonna move it right there and it moves it. Now, I actually had to remake this video because I was getting flustered because I was clicking directly on the blue part and I was like, it couldn't move and I was getting really frustrated. So I figured out you got to kind of click away from it and then you can move things around. Isn't that cool? That's an easy way to just move all kinds of things around. Now, if I want to add a new column, it's pretty easy. I mean, I can just like literally just come up here and make a new column, or I could have done column, new column. All right. But I want to show you something that may be very useful to you. Like, let's say you kind of want to see a sum of two columns together, or you need to find the average of something or the difference in something. Then you would, like, let's say I want to know the difference between maximum pulse and run pulse. All right, so I'm going to do a formula. So I could do this a couple of different ways. The kind I like to do is I like to just go up here with my cursor, right click, and you can go to formula. All right, now with formula, let me move this so I can see it. I'm just going to enter, like, okay, I want to do, what did I say? Maximum pulse. I want to find the difference between these pulses minus run pulse. And I click OK. And it automatically did the math. It automatically made that for me, so I have difference. Okay? Now, that seems kind of easy, right? All right, well, I'll tell you where this is going to really come into play for you guys. All right, I'm hoping you can see this new screen of this Baron study. So I want to share it just in case. Okay, so this is my own data set. It's a research study I've been doing with studying mindsets and emotional intelligence and seeing how they are related. And so when I gave this survey on mindsets, I had to do a lot of different interesting things to it. First of all, you're going to have to think about this too when you collect your data. Some of the questions are backwards. So like questions 2 and questions 4, 6, I haven't done it to this data set yet, but I'm supposed to score it backwards, and I know that as the researcher because I've read this how to score it. So I had to change all my 4s to 2s, and I had to change those numbers. Okay. Anyways, just keep those things in mind when you are giving your survey if there are any things that are coded backwards. Well, also questions number 1, 3, 5, and 7 are measurements of growth mindset. And so if I want to look at the mean score for growth mindset, I have to create a column to figure that out. So here's what you do. I'm going to go column new. I'm going to call this mean of growth mindset. And I'm going to go, all right, it's numerical data. It's continuous. All right, I'm going to click OK. And then down here, I have my new column. I got to move my video still. Okay, I want to right click. I want to go formula. Now I got to think about how I enter this, and I got to go back to like 6th grade math and do parentheses first, right? Parentheses. And then I got to look for, okay, come on, let me do this since I'm making a video. Okay, 1 plus 3 plus, okay, something messed up. This is always a little tricky for me, and especially it is right now because I'm on video, and it's just easy. You're going to have to just play around with this. But 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7, end of parentheses, and I'm going to find the average, so I divide by how many that is, 4. Okay, click OK. And there's my average score of growth mindsets. All right, that's really important for you to know because a lot of you all use Likert scale surveys, and you may need to find the average of a domain score, and that is how you do it. Now, you actually just need to learn about your instrument and see if in most studies, how do they report the domain? Do they report it as the mean score of those questions, or do they report it as the total score? So you need to think about that as you build your data set. All right, so that's how you do a formula. Now let's talk about changing. All right, let me pause this for a second. Okay, the next part is just about changing a column, and I feel like we've already talked about that, but anyways, just in your data set, if you need to change any column properties, like with these mindset scores, I click on it and I just go to column info, and this is where you change it. You can change it to continuous or nominal, or if it's, you know, are these letters you're dealing with? No, they're numbers. They need to stay numeric. So that's all that is. Okay, so I want to go back to the fitness data set. Make sure you can see it on Zoom. Okay. Now, let's say that I don't want to see everything on here. Like, there may be some outliers that I need to get rid of and I want to exclude from my data set. Let's just say Patty. Let's just say I just don't want her in this data set. There's something about her that's messing everything up and I want to take her out. All right, so I just go to and I can hide her. All right, and what does that mean? There's a difference between hide and exclude, but JMP doesn't say here. All right, I could hide her, but actually as a researcher, here's what I would mainly want to do. Not just hide her, but exclude her from any of the math that's going on. So I would go to rows and I would go to exclude. And then when I run my analysis and calculate a mean score and I want to take out the outlier, this is how I would take her out. All right, if somehow her data is messing things up, I would report the data with the outlier and I would also report it with the outlier. I would report it as both, but that's how you would do that. All right, so I'm going to go back to rows and I'm going to bring her back in. Okay, now, again, did I tell you this? If you're ever like your cursor's stuck and you like can't get stuff, you know, stuff's highlighted and you don't want it to be highlighted anymore, you just go up to these little triangles and click on them. Now, let's talk about sorting. Sometimes you're going to have your data set and you don't need to look at everything. Like you might just need to look at only the males or only the 5th graders or only the 6th graders or something. And so what you would do, let's see here, you go to tables and you go to sort. And let's say I want to look at males or females, okay? Now this arrow tells you whether it's descending or ascending or descending. All right, so let's see which way this makes it. All right, so it does alphabetical first. If it was how I chose it, which was this kind of triangle, so that means descending. Okay, so now I have like all the females and all the males sorted separately. And let's say I needed to run my analysis, but I only wanted to look at the males. So what I would do is I would take these females out and I would go to rows and I might need to exclude them. And now I'm going to just simply look at the male scores by excluding the females from the analysis. So now when I conduct the analysis, it's not going to include any of those female scores. That is it for JMP 3.